slideshow, and as we go, we're going to kind of talk about it. This year, when we created the slideshow, we tried to do some more information for some of you that don't know the specific information. So some of the slides are going to have some words with information that we'll share with you as well, and not just the stories, because sometimes we get carried away with telling our stories, and we don't always get to some of the information that you may not know. And at the end, they're going to do one of the days of drama for you. So, yeah, it's a baby. So we go down to help Calvin and Mary. Calvin is the pastor at a small church down there. Their family is very involved in the church, and it mostly came down to their family and us when it came to VBS. So the reason we go down there is because in their church they don't have enough people to be volunteers and to help with the VBS. So we started going down to help them with VBS. There were some other people in the church helping, but their church has lost a few people in the last couple of years. So the information here, their two daughters are Melody and Maria, and they have another one that's in Ohio. Melody and Samuel have 3 kids, and then Samuel's sister Becca also came out for the week to help, because Melody and Samuel are a huge part of the VBS, so they have 3 kids to watch at the same time. So one of the things that we got to do was help watch the kids. Becca also brought her nephew Travis with her that I completely forgot about. So it was interesting this year because not only were we doing the VBS and all of those things, but we also were doing childcare part of the time. So they didn't expect it of us, but that was one way we were able to help them while they were prepping for VBS. This is the church. It's a different viewpoint from what we usually put up there. So there's a yard across the top. There's the fellowship hall on one side that used to be where the pastor lived a long time ago. So the fellowship hall on one side, and then the church on the other. So we did things downstairs in the fellowship hall. We did things upstairs in the fellowship hall, downstairs in the church, and then upstairs in the sanctuary. This is a picture of us on the way out. The first thing we do when we go down every year, we didn't know if they'd be able to do it. So Calvin's mom, Maxine, passed away a few days before we went down. So we weren't sure if they would host us that night, but they still wanted to do that for us. So they grill hamburgers and have different foods for us, and we go to their house that evening for dinner. And then we go to the church, and that's where we stayed.
And they put all the leaves in the table,
Yeah,
for us, so we all got to be around one table.
So these are the people on the trip. Pictured here are Jasmine, Leela, Trinity, Becca, Kara, and Lisa. I didn't tell Kara I was taking the picture. And then Ann and Gary and I were also there, and Bree and Wesley came 2 days later. But we played that game a lot of Dutch Blitz.
So, I'm standing in front of Becca, but she'll be okay. We go door to door on Sunday night every year, just inviting people to VBS. So I got these pictures while we were going. And I also got so many bug bites. That's not the purpose of going door to door, but yeah, Monday night, everybody looked at me and said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Well, no, but it's fine." I had 205 bug bites by the end of the week. That's just a fun fact for you. There's so many. Anyway, we went door to door. A lot of people in the creek, when we go, know what we're there for. It happens pretty much at the same time every year. So they see us coming and they're like, "Oh yeah, you're that pastor from Indiana." But we go down the creek and up the hill, and sometimes we make it to the end of the road, but I don't think we did on Sunday night this year. But there are some kids along the creek that recognize us. They got to work with a girl named Haley, which I'm sure somebody else will talk about because I didn't go to visit Haley. But yeah, so it's a lot of fun when the people recognize us and just getting to see them and say, "Hey, we're doing Bible school. Come if you like," because they do have an adult class as well, so everybody's invited.
Okay, I'm gonna start this one. So we sprung on them. Did we tell you before we left or when we were leaving? Right before that, we were not particularly satisfied with what we got on our video for the drama. They were okay, but they weren't great. And I was like, we're not taking this. And so we looked at the drama and said, you guys can do this. So they had 2 days to start learning the drama, and they did the drama without scripts all week. And we practiced a lot. And some days they practiced like this on the floor. And some days they wandered around going, I'm so excited, in their scripts. And I was like, okay, so we have to do something else. Put down your bike. Are you
Also, I
ready?
want to say one thing real quick. There was a purpose for doing that. We spread them out because sometimes they talk like this and they think everybody can hear them without microphones. So we spread them out so they would have to project their lines to each other when they were practicing, so that would help them practice the way they needed to do it. So there was a little reason for them being so spread out. But they want to share something that they did when they got too tired or needed a break. Something that they did was they did dance sessions and did singing.
Oh, it's not there.
It's the wrong way. You went the wrong way.
I'm sorry. There's no sound.
This is one of the songs you did here too. So sing it with us because we did it at VBS here.
I'm reading my B-I-B-L-E, and this is what it says to me. It tells me that I'm never ever alone. I'm learning how Jesus came down to us and gave his best. Without a doubt, the best friend you'll ever know. Our God knows exactly what I need, so I remember this. Let's go! When you ask, he cares. When you see, he's there. When you knock, 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 God opens up the door. When you ask, he cares. When you see, he's there. When you knock, 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 God opens up the door. I'm reading my B-I-B-L-E, and this is what it says to me. It tells me that I'm never ever alone. I'm learning how J-E-S-U-S came down to us and gave his best. Without a doubt, the best friend you'll ever know. Our God knows exactly what I need, so I remember this. Let's go! When you ask, he cares. When you see, he's there. When you knock, 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 God opens up the door. When you ask, he cares. When you see, he's there. When you knock, 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 God opens up the door. When you ask, he cares. When you see, he's there. When you knock, 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 God opens up the door. When you ask, he cares. When you seek, he's there. When you knock, 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 God opens up the door. Our God knows exactly what I need, so I remember this. Let's go! When you ask, he cares. When you seek, he's there. When you knock, 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 God opens up the door. When you ask, he cares. When you seek, he's there. When you knock, 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 God opens up the door.
So this was the lowest energy I've ever seen you do it. And we had several more, and they were very bouncy, and I would get them going, and then we'd try again. So, where did I set it?
Really quick, we also did the Fruit of the Spirit song at VBS at the end, just before we did the drama. And if I thought about it, I would have sent it, but I didn't. But I got a video of the girls backstage screaming to it. So if anyone wants to see it, I'm your man.
Someone didn't know we were putting this picture in there. But we worked really hard, and it kind of went with the working harder, hardly working. This is Pastor Calvin and Dad, Gary. That was the sleeping after the working. This was the drama. The set looks a little different. Yeah, sorry, that's the one they sent me. Kara's eyes are closed. Jasmine didn't know it was coming. Sorry. Becca sent me the picture, so I put it on there. They had a lot of fun. So left to right, you know most of them. It's Jasmine, Kara, Becca's taking the picture, Trinity, Elisa, and Leela. And they also didn't know I took this picture. So Kara played piano for us a lot. We did some worship with her doing keys for us, and they just had a lot of fun. Okay. They did their station. So this is downstairs in the fellowship hall. This was the activities time. This is the station that I led. Originally it was planned for Elisa and I to do it together, and we would just trade off days because I've done it for a long time, and I was like, you're fully capable. I want you to do it. But she ended up being needed elsewhere, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. So I ended up doing the class time again this year. So this is one of the groups where they would work through their booklets, and it was really neat because I promise I'm not talking the whole time. But one of the stories that I did want to share has to do with this. So the 4th through 6th grade group, every day they would come in to me at their rotation time. We would go through the booklet. I would ask review questions first to see if they're paying attention during the lesson, so that gave them a little motivation to pay more attention. So I would ask review questions and clarify anything they didn't understand. And then we would do the workbooks that go with the Answers in Genesis curriculum that we use. And they had paragraphs that we would read together that kind of reinforces what had been taught that day. And then there was an activity that went with it. And so we did that every day. And I had them for about 20 minutes-ish. And the second to last day was the day that the gospel was very explicitly given during the lesson. And the pre-K were a little bit loud every day. We tried our best. But when the 4th through 6th graders came down, I just said, guys, I want to make sure you heard what Miss Ian said. Like, I want to talk to you about this and just get real. And I don't know what fruit came of it, but we spent the whole 20 minutes with them listening, asking questions, and just sharing the gospel. So it was really neat to be able, they didn't even ask for the booklet. We didn't even get to the workbook that day. We didn't do anything else, but we reviewed what had been told, and we talked about the gospel and what that means, and just clarified a lot of things. And it was just really neat to have that opportunity and to have that many kids. That is the 4th through 6th group. So there's 9 of them in that picture, but it was anywhere from 8 to 14. But to have them all sit there and listen.
And they asked some really good questions.
Yeah. Like one of them asked, because we talked about how to be a Christian, you have to have a specific moment that you have asked Jesus into your heart. I said, you may not remember it was 2 o'clock on a Wednesday, but you should be able to look back and remember this moment in time where I asked Jesus into my heart and asked him to be my Savior. And we talked about how going to church doesn't do it, and some of those things that we clarified. And one of the girls looked at me and she raised her hand. I said, yeah, what's up? And she said, what about an atheist who's a really good person? And so it was really good to just be able to say, like, look, you have to make a decision. You're either choosing God or you're choosing not God. And, good enough doesn't compare with perfection. And you can't be perfect, and we have to have a faith in Jesus in order to be saved. So it was really good to just be able to have those conversations, because I've never really had that opportunity with a whole class where they would sit and listen. And so it was just a really neat experience. Again, I didn't ask for hands raised. I didn't do any of that, but just planting more of those seeds and answering the questions that they had was a really neat thing.
So that's a picture of preschool. Yeah, that's a picture of us helping with preschool. They were interesting. They were they were so adorable, but like, oh my gosh, they were adorable, but I cannot. They were fun, but it was a lot of screaming and yelling and a lot of sit back down, a lot of sit back downs.
There were, at one point, a couple days, there were 11 preschoolers.
Yeah.
That's where Lisa was needed.
Yeah, so that's me in the picture. The little guy on my lap, his name was Leo. We are of the suspicion that he was just a bit too young to be there. The general rule of thumb is 3 years old and up. We think he might have been a little bit younger because he struggled a bit throughout the week. But I went and helped with the preschool because there were just so many of them, and they were much more rambunctious than we've seen in previous years. So I went ahead and helped with them. Leo had several different buddies throughout the week. Some days it was Gary, some days it was Ann, some days it was both. That last day it was me. And we tried to work with him and just help him have fun where he could. And I think that day he had a cup and it had a little pom-pom in it. And he thought the little pom-pom was the best thing in the world. And it was really cute. But crafts time, we did our little craft, but then 20 minutes is a long time for little kids to do a craft. So a lot of the time we would do a couple songs at the end. I think that day we did the hippopotamus song. We can sing it for you if you don't know it, but maybe not right now. And yeah, we did a couple others, but it was a lot of fun hanging out with those little guys throughout the week, even if it was very tiring.
I don't even think I'm in this picture. I think that's not K through 3. They're big. Oh, I guess that's K through 3. They were a little less than the preschoolers, but they were all. We had a lot more people than we did last year.
In this class.
Yeah, there were so many more kids this year because we took the buses, and they were so much fun. Like, they would not sit still. So if we did a game, they were all active and running around. And the last day, they would come over to Kara and I, and they'd be like talking to us and like, come on, come play with us. Like, you have to come play with us. I'll play if you play. I was like, okay. And they were like, they always talked to us. They always had something to say, and they were so much fun. Oh my word, I don't know how to describe it, but they had so much energy. It was tiring at sometimes, but I don't know, they always wanted to talk to us, they always wanted to play with us, and
Oh, it's my turn. That's okay. Yeah, so we had a couple twins in our pre-K class. Their names were Mason and Grayson, although the first day we thought Grayson's name was Braxton. It's okay. I tell you what, the Kentucky accent is hard enough on its own, but when you got 3-year-olds, it's all out the window. So I think this one on the right, I think that's left. I don't know, guys. That's Grayson, I think. And then who's that? Oh, the other one is Xavier. Xavier was Leo's older brother. They were a handful. They liked to get up and run around and scream a little bit. In lesson time with Katie, we had several little discussions about, okay, let's use our talking voices, not our yelling voices. Which they gotta hang on it toward the end of the week, but the first couple days were a bit. I do think at one point Matthew, Calvin's grandson, went up to Xavier and Leo and said, "Who made you bald?" And they said their dad. So yeah, but it was good that we had so many people just going on the trip with us this year, because we were able to help out in those places that we were needed, like pre-K. Me and Lila both did it. But
I want to say something first too. Sorry. I made the slideshow, so I got little comments already planned out. We put up, can you go back to the last slide real quick? I chose a couple pictures, and I would encourage you to write down these names. You don't have to, but we want to really be in prayer. Like I chose a couple of the kids that really touched our hearts. So Mason and Grayson were a handful. To have them sit through the whole opening was really hard. It took Elisa, it took me, it took Leela. It took a lot of us to really help them, and even then they were loud. Like trying like, okay, use your whisper voice if you're going to talk. It wasn't don't talk. It was use your whisper voice because they didn't understand. They were too young. They were 3 through preschool. So Xavier and Leo Xavier's on the right. Leo was we think 2, and these 4 kiddos like it just hit hard. They thrived in the attention. You can tell they don't get it elsewhere. So I would encourage you, if you have a paper, to write down those 4 names and just be praying with us for them, because our job isn't done just because we left Kentucky. We love these kids and we want to keep praying for them. So I put this one up, and then the next one were the teens. So we couldn't find a good picture of Douglas, so I stole one off his Facebook. But Roland's over here on the left. I think he's 23. And then Douglas is on the right. He's 18. So I guess technically Douglas isn't a teen anymore. But he's been there since he was in the 4 through 6 class. So we've watched him grow every year. So if you want Douglas and Roland stories, like ask any one of them. They could tell you 5 million. Okay? And we actually are hoping, we invited and they said yes, hopefully. We are hoping that the 2 of them can come down the last weekend in July and visit us and come to our church and just have a hangout here as well. This was the pre-K, and we decided that to do both assemblies was just too hard. They could not sit that long. By the end of the day, they were exhausted. So we made an adjustment. Elisa and I made an adjustment to the schedule, and instead of them going to the closing, which had the drama and prayer and a couple songs they just couldn't handle, Wesley and I took them over to the fellowship hall and they just played. We got out Play-Doh, we got out blocks, anything that we could do. And it was hard because I was like, I'll do this, but there's 11 of them and they're all in the drama. So I couldn't just pull Leela like I normally would, or I couldn't just ask one of the others to help me. So Wesley really stepped up. It was not his favorite thing in the world. You can see the picture. At one point, he had both Mason and Grayson on his lap. Not because he asked them, but because they just walked over, stood up on a chair, and crawled right into his lap and sat there. And he also, for a disclaimer, that picture with Mason with the snake, he made a snake out of Play-Doh. So he hates snakes. He won't even talk about them. He won't look at them. He doesn't, not snakes, but he made one out of Play-Doh for one of the boys. So it was really sweet.
I love teens. Kids are not my strong suit. But training.
It's coming.
God knows what I need. So this was a really cool experience to just play and hang out with them. It was really awesome. And yes, they have all kinds of snakes down there. And I am always on alert when I'm outside the house. And apparently inside the house because they have snakes come in sometimes. So I love Kentucky. I can't handle snakes. Can't do it.
Also, that picture had Gary in it as well. A lot of people really had to help us with that. So Dad, Wesley, and I were the main ones that did that.
Okay, so this is Youth Day. We have it every year. We invite the whole youth class to come, and we have a cornhole tournament, and we have lunch, and we have a lesson, and just kind of get to know them better and like create like better relationships with them. This year we had, I think, 3. We had 3 people come that weren't quite old enough, but we just like invited them and felt like they would have a good time. So that's the cornhole tournament. That's the championship game.
I lost,
Paul won.
unfortunately.
Um,
Paul is Wesley, if you don't remember.
Oh yeah.
A name from Kentucky.
On the left, that's me and Matthew, which is the pastor's grandson. Last year, we became buddies. We were best friends. That's him. I was so tired. I just wanted a nap, but I couldn't take a nap because everyone was there. So I just sat down, and he came and sat beside me. And he was asking me all kinds of questions. He asked, where do you live? And I said, I live in Indiana. And he goes, where does Jasmine live? And I was like, she lives in Indiana. He was like, where does Becca live? I was like, we all live in Indiana. And then he asked about Trinity, and I said, Trinity lives down the street from me, actually. He goes, in the same Indiana? Yeah. So, yeah, we really enjoyed all the kids and just having fun with them. Oh, yeah, that's just all 3 of our vehicles going home. Sorry. Maybe Gary wants to talk about this part, but partway through the week, do you want to talk about it? Partway through the week, our van got a flat tire. So I don't actually know how it all worked out. But in this picture, the reason you can see all 3 of our vehicles was because Gary was driving, I think it was the Outro Church bus, back up to the top of the creek so that we could drop it off with where it belonged. But right before we left, we had to get the new tire and put it on the bus, on their van, JK. But yeah, I don't know if Gary wants to talk about that. I don't know the details.
We'll give it to him.
It was one of the many things that happened. We went to the end of the creek, and it's gravel at the end. Wes and I think it was just Wes and I, and then on the way back, the tire sensor went off. I'm like, probably not a big deal. Well, we parked and went in, and when we went out to leave like an hour later, the tire was flat. But it was neat how God worked it out. The store at the head of the creek, the guy knew a guy that knew a guy, and we dropped the tire off that night, and he picked it up, took it into Hazard or Jackson, and got a new tire, and we didn't get it back till Saturday morning, but I had asked them to put a used one on because it was going to be cheaper. They put a brand new tire on and wouldn't take a penny, and I never met the man who did it. His name is Lucas, so I thank God for Lucas that he gave us a tire and got our van gone so we could come back home.
Yeah, when he said about paying for it, he said, no, you guys are doing Bible school. Bible school is a huge thing in Kentucky. They have them all week long. Stand in front of the mic, sorry. They have them all summer long. The different churches kind of take turns. We actually had some kids that went to Bible school in the mornings and then came to ours in the evening. So, yeah.
The other thing, the first night we had like 82, children and adults, but a total of 82 people there the first night. And it was just amazing. Our first year, one of the first years we were there was over 100, but each year it seemed like it's coming down a little bit less. We haven't had that many in several years. So it's good to see, good to have that many people, that many children running around. It was really neat.
We're gonna leave it on this slide. This is the last slide. Well, there's one more, but this is like the last picture. We have a couple of the kiddos that wanted to share at least one story, and it didn't go along with the slides because I didn't know for sure what they were sharing. So I'm gonna pass the mic, and if you don't have a story, you can just pass it on or don't have something to add. But we're gonna pass the mic down.
I've probably shared this story like 100 times with like the youth group and stuff, but it's like, I don't know, it was my favorite thing ever. So there's one of these little boys. I was in the K-3 class, and his name was Wyatt. And one day we were making these little CD things, and like you could put like little like stickers on it for K-3. And me and him, we were like kind of like Kara and Matthew. We were like best friends from day one. Like we'd always look at each other, like give us weird glares and whatnot. And like we'd like point at each other, just like whatever. And we would talk. I would always help him with crafts. And he asked me to help him make the CD, and I said, yeah, of course, I'll help you. So I got him a W because she wanted all of them to put their first initial on there. And he looks at me and he goes, can you give me a J? And I was like, yeah, of course. So I get him a J, and I glued it on there for him, and he goes, I'm making this for my girlfriend. her name's Jasmine. And I was like, oh yeah? He goes, yeah. And then so it has like a Y with a heart and then a J and like a little like cross up here, and it says Wyatt and Jasmine, but he spelled it JESSMINE, which, whatever. And then like on the last day of VBS, he comes up to me like before it starts, and he like gives me a hug, and he told me to visit him, and I told him I lived in Indiana, so like I couldn't, like I don't live here, and he starts crying, and I was like, oh, like I felt bad. And then at the end, he comes up to me bawling, like he's bawling, and he hugs me, and then he gives this to me, and he's like, I'm gonna miss you, please don't like forget about me. And I was like, and like I start crying, like I like lost it, and it was just the cutest thing that's ever like happened. And yeah.
And that was the crap from the day before. So.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna talk about my bug bites again because there's a lot of them. Sorry. So, one of the ladies down there, her name is Norma Gale, and her sister, she helps with the K-3. She's always in charge of the K-3 class. She's really good with them. And her sister Mary is a nurse. And she helps as well. So, the one night, Mary came and I was pretty swelled up because the first couple of days I was just itching at him. And Mary came and she was like, you need to get some Benadryl cream on that. So we didn't actually get Benadryl cream, but Bob had some Benadryl, and so I started taking that throughout the week. So I did take a couple Benadryl naps because that stuff knocks me out. But I think God knew I needed the rest. But yeah, it was really cool because they always help us when we're down there, and a lot of us get bug bites really bad, and so they're like, hey, this is what you should do for that. And we say, thanks.
So one thing we do with the youth, like almost every single year, is we play soccer with them. We're super, super competitive. Paul almost broke his toe. Kara almost broke her finger playing games. I don't even know. They're so crazy. And I'm not going to go into detail, but this year our soccer games got cut short several times. But it's always fun on the last. Anyway, we had an injury. We had to stop playing. But always on the last day, the guys stay after VBS and we play soccer till it gets dark, and then they're like, we gotta go home. So we stop playing because I can't play in the dark or whatever. And so that's a lot of fun. But yeah, this year it got cut short, so wasn't as fun, but still really fun.
They did stay to eat dinner with us that night, though.
Couple quick things.
Wait, just real quick. I can't help it. The game got cut short because she nailed 2 people in the gut, and 2 of the guys went down. One day, one the next day. So it's Becca's fault the games got cut short. I just had to say that.
I got the privilege of working with the youth class during the day, and there was one day in particular that we talked about being purpose-driven because all of them have made commitments in the past, and so we got to talk about what does it mean to live out your faith? What plan does God have for you? How can God use your passions and the gifts that He's given you in everyday life? And it was really cool seeing all the youth just rolling through different ideas, and we just had a 10-15 minute conversation about how they want to start doing that, how they will do that when they play sports, how they want to live out their lives in a way that reflects Christ, and that was really exciting. And the second thing is one of the huge parts of the ministry down there, while they're doing the drama, Gary and I got a lot of opportunities to go visiting. And for me, that is not the most comfortable thing in the world because we have to go into people's houses and we're talking to people, and Gary's gotten to know them for 10 years now. This is only my 2nd year, so I'm starting to learn names more so. But it's definitely one of the most powerful parts of the ministry is because we're going into their houses, and especially it's really cool learning and watching Gary with them. Because while it's not comfortable for a lot of us, he just cares about them so much. And so when he's in there, he he's teaching them, he's reading God's word, and he's having good conversations with them. So it was really cool for me to be able to kind of sit back and watch, and hopefully over the next couple of years I can get more involved with that as well. So.
I know we're going a little long and we're not done yet. I apologize. It's always a bit of a struggle when we come back, because we pack so much into days, and how do we communicate? It's so hard to communicate what happens. How do we share it to you guys? That's one of the hardest things. It's like, we can't be up here for a week talking about all, and even if we could say everything, you're not there. It's hard for us to be able to try to capture the spirit, capture everything. The other thing that makes it hard is that it's not us, and I'm so thankful for the song that the Lord led Tim to, yet not I, but Christ through us. It's not about us. It's about what God did. And, it's an incredible privilege to be part of a church that cares, that sends us down. It's not about us. It's about what God did through us. And it's hard to focus on the group that goes and try to be praying for them, to focus on the teenagers down there, and then the community as we go visiting. There's so many different things. We were blessed to have two new young people. I don't know if you caught that, but Trinity and Leela they had never gone before, and it was so neat to see them down there. And Leila's here today. She's hiding back here with her parents, but that was one of the neatest parts, was them being able to go down there as well. So.
Okay, we are going to, I know we're out of time, but we're going to take a few more minutes. We wanted to do one day of the drama for you guys because we didn't do it for VBS here, and the kids are hilarious. So just a heads up, there's some audience participation eventually, but you don't get a choice. So they're going to do the drama. Is there anything else you need to set up?
I will, just a second, while they get set up. We're down here, Brooks.
Oh, and Bree's filling in. She's like, tell them it's not you and me. Usually that's Trinity who did that part, but she wasn't able to be here this morning, so Bree's going to redo that part.
Yes, so she's our substitute. The premise behind the drama this year is this is a game show in Australia. Those of you that were here for VBS know we were in Australia last week. And so this is a game show that helps them review and does other things. And we have two contestants on this game show. One is Zoe and one is Stephanie. And so they are competing against each other. You guys are gonna have to talk really loud here. Just a reminder. But this is actually from the third day, which is why I wanted to set things up a little bit. Jasmine's part, her name is Carrie, and she is the niece of Jen, who Trinity played. And she has been having some difficulties, and so her Aunt Jen gave her a job, hoping it would kind of settle her out a little bit. And so that's what's going on at the beginning of this session.
In because I wanted to apologize for what happened yesterday.
Oh, you mean the big smackdown? Thanks for reminding me how sore I am.
Sorry.
Why are you apologizing? You didn't do anything.
Exactly. Carrie is my responsibility, and I wasn't watching her closely enough.
That was Carrie? I thought it was a freight train. But hey, no blood, no broken bones, no concussion. It's all good.
Well, thanks for being so kind.
You're the one that's being kind.
Me?
Yeah. Let me guess. Carrie fell in with a bad crowd and she's been having some issues lately. But you're her aunt and you love her, so you brought her here to give her some responsibility and hopefully some good influences. Am I close?
Yeah,
Well, that's what I'd call being kind.
but it's not working.
You don't know that.
Yes, I do. The whole thing's been a mess from the start.
Hey, whatever you do, don't give up on her.
Thanks. I really needed to hear that.
All right, well, I'm gonna go get ready. I'll be praying for you.
Thanks.
Okay, I finished all my chores. Can I go out and play?
Very funny. Did you really do everything?
More or less. Now what do you want me to do?
Well, why don't you just stay put? I'm gonna send Zoe and Stephanie in, and you can keep them company.
The Brainiacs? Oh boy, can't wait. Maybe we'll break out the chessboard, or better yet, read the dictionary. Woohoo.
Just be nice and make them feel welcome. I'll be back when it's showtime.
Anyways, how to entertain Albert Einstein? Nothing. What do we have here? The questions for the game show? Seems a bit risky just leaving them out in the open, unprotected. I wonder what would happen if I removed a couple, or maybe mixed them up. Should I, or shouldn't I? I mean, that is the real question.
That's too easy. You're insulting my intelligence. Just spell it. All right, conceded. CONCEITED.
Figures you'd know how to spell that one.
A spelling bee, of course. Why didn't I think of that?
What?
Oh, nothing. Just pretend like I'm not here.
Seriously, give me a harder one, like chrysanthemum.
I don't feel like reading anymore.
Okay. What about U.S. presidents,
Nope, not interested.
states and capitals?
Nope, I'd rather read.
Fine. What about you then?
Me? You must be joking.
No, really. Let's test your knowledge. What are 2 things you can never eat for breakfast?
I don't know. What are 2 things I can never eat for breakfast?
Lunch and dinner.
Wow, you are hilarious.
All right, here's another one. What word is spelled incorrectly in every dictionary?
I give up.
Incorrectly. You get it? It's not spelled incorrectly, it's a word incorrectly.
Yeah, I get it. Is she always this annoying?
Only when she's awake.
Okay, one more.
No. It's my turn this time.
Really?
Yeah, but it's not going to be a question or a riddle. It's more of an experiment. I'll be right back.
This should be fun. I really like science.
Okay, first, you need to stand with your arms out, palms up, okay? Yep. Okay, there's 3 steps to this. The first step is to set these weights on your hands, okay? Like that. Okay, good. Second step, you take this whipped cream, put it on this plate.
I think she needs some
Now,
more.
but set it on your hands lightly. You're doing very great, by the way.
Of course I am. What'd you expect?
Okay, are you ready for step 3?
Yep.
Are you sure?
Bring it on.
Okay.
I don't think that was exactly how it's
Okay, it's
supposed to
time
work.
to take your places. Oh no, what did you do this time? Come on, Carrie. Every person is made in God's image, and we need to treat people kindly. Is what you did kind? Please take her backstage and get her cleaned up.
I don't think that's how they planned it.
Come on, Albert Einstein, let's go.
Hurry up, you've only got 2 minutes.
This whipped cream is really good.
What am I gonna do with her? Zoe, I apologize for whatever happened out here.
It's okay. I know it's easy to get annoyed with people, but we have to keep in mind that everyone is made in God's image and that we have to treat them with kindness and respect.
I can't wait any longer. It's time to greet the audience. I'll just have to improvise. Sound booth, you ready? Wendy? All right, here we go. Welcome everyone to Zoomerang Studios. Are you having a good time so far? Great, that's what we like to hear. Can you believe it's Wednesday already? Wow, it's amazing how fast time goes. Anyways, as you can see, Zoe's in her place and ready to go, but Stephanie, our other contestant, is still backstage. Let's see if we can get her out here. Are you ready? Stephanie!
Stephanie! Stephanie! Stephanie! Stephanie!
And here she comes. All right, is everybody ready now? Because here we go. Time to play Zoomerang in 3, 2, 1.
Hello and welcome to Zoomerang. I'm your host, Wendy Martin, and at this point we are halfway through our week-long challenge. Here's how the game works. In round 1, our contestants will answer some questions for some points. In round 2, we'll ask for a little bit of audience participation to answer some more questions for points. And then we'll finish out the night with our double bonus question, which could decide who wins the whole thing. But before we get started, I just want to ask our contestants a little something. Stephanie, how are you feeling so far?
Well, to be honest, it's easier than I thought.
Really? I guess we'll have to have some harder questions then.
Good luck with that.
Zoe, what do you think about that?
I'm having a fantastic time and learning a lot too.
Do you think the questions are too easy?
Nope, I think they're just right.
All right, well then with that, let's get started with question 1. Worth 1,000 points. About how many beaches are there in Australia? Zoe.
I know there's a lot. I'm gonna say 5,000.
I'm sorry, that's incorrect. Stephanie?
I think 5,000 is too much. How about 2,000?
That is also incorrect. Actually, there are over 10,000 beaches in Australia, which is more than any other country in the world. In fact, if you were to visit one beach in Australia a day for each time you go to a beach, then it would take you about 27 years to go to all of them. All right, what do Australians call candy? Brekkie, lollies, or sunnies? Zoe.
Lollies.
That's correct. Can you tell me what the other ones mean?
Sure, brekkie is breakfast and sunnies are sunglasses.
All right. Next question. In what book of the Bible is the account of Jesus' birth found? Stephanie.
Luke.
That's right, and it's also found in the book of Matthew. Which person in the account about Jesus' birth didn't value human life? Stephanie again.
Wicked King Herod.
That's correct. King Herod didn't value life, but God does, and so should we. How did the wise men know not to return to King Herod and tell him where baby Jesus was? Zoe.
God warned them in a dream.
That's right, and if God tells you something, you should listen. All right, that is the end of round 1. I believe it's a tie with 2,000 points to each team. Now, I'm going to pick some helpers from the audience. So, for Zoe's team, Kim Brindle. And then for Stephanie's team, Chris Ellinger.
Yay!
No?
Chris.
Okay. Well, then. Miss McCrum, will you come up here and help? Alright, now, our contestants are at a bit of a disadvantage because the kids that we had up here had already sat through the beginning presentation. So, it's going to be a bit more competitive this time. So, the way that the game works, I'm going to read you a question, and I'm going to give you 3 options. The panels correspond with the answers. So whichever one you think is right, and no cheating, You hold it up and you show me, okay? All right. Huh? Oh yeah, so the audience, if you know the correct answer, can hold up the fingers for the right answer. And you can look out to your audience for the round 2. Okay. Yeah, you might not get much help. Okay. Number 1, who was the slave trader that didn't value life? Number 1 is John Wesley. Number 2 is John Newton. Number 3 is John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt. I don't remember the right answer to this one. I think it's number 2. John Newton, yeah, it's the Amazing Grace guy. It's the Amazing Grace guy, so Kim got it right. Did he? Oops. That's okay. All right, now, James 1:27 tells us that God wants us to care for widows and number 1 is sick people, number 2 is orphans, number 3 is poor people. Yes. That's cheating.
According to the verse.
Specific verse.
I would think.
What's the end of that verse?
Do we know James 1:27? Apparently not.
What are the options again?
Sick people, orphans, and poor people.
Look at your audience for help.
Oh, yeah, of course, number 2.
Okay, good job. We both get a point for that one. All right. This one should be easy. You should get this one. All right.
No pressure.
Who is more valuable to God? Number 1, a healthy 20-year-old. Number 2, a sick 90-year-old. Number 3, both are valuable. Wow, good job. We both get a point. All right. What is not an example of valuing others? Number 1, buying someone a meal. Number 2, bullying someone. Number 3, saying hello to a stranger. Good job. That's a point for each team. I'm not keeping track. I don't know who's winning. It's okay. It's all for fun. All right. Who was the prisoner in, you might not know this one. We'll help you. Who was the prisoner in World War II who forgave the prison guard where she was horribly mistreated? Number 1 is Corrie ten Boom. Number 2 is Susan B. Anthony. This is World War II. Let's remember that. Number 3 is Lucy Van Pelt. Good job. I can't see your number, but I know you got it right. All right, now, this is the double bonus question. Double bonus question is worth 10,000 points, and you're not allowed to have help for this one.
Ooh,
Okay? How are we feeling? All right, it'll be okay. All right. Do unto others as you wish they would do unto you. It's also called, number 1, the greatest commandment. Number 2, the perfect proverb. Number 3, the golden rule. All right, we both got that one right. So I think it's pretty much, I think it's a tie.
They beat us.
Oh, Becca says that they win. And you know that's true, because otherwise she would have cheated. All right, so I guess Michelle and Carolyn.
Loser cleans up. Loser cleans up.
All right, and then that is the end of my bit. So Miss Ann will dismiss you at the end of the night. Thanks, everyone.
So actually, that is the way we did it. And so it actually malfunctioned when we did it as well, and that's what Jasmine did. So you got to see the whole thing because she did pick it up and smack Kara with it. So
She enjoyed it.
yes, she very much enjoyed it. So yeah, it was fun, and Kara was a really good sport about the whole thing. So yeah, that was one of our most exciting days. The day before, Jasmine came riding out on a tricycle and then realized there was audience people and went, oh, pay no attention to the girl on the tricycle, and rode back behind. And that's what the beginning was referring to. She supposedly ran into Wendy in the backstage. But we just did a great job. Does anybody, I know it's noon, if we want to just dismiss, that's fine. But is there anybody that has a question for me or the girls or whoever? All right. Oh, Ronan, what's your question?
It's okay. We don't have any questions.
One of the things that always amazes me is the fact that we go down to Kentucky and we're building upon seeds, the work that people started before. People went down there, the church was started, it was a mission church. And Wesley and Martha Stoltzfus he was a pastor there for 40 some years. And he passed away in 2003, I think. I met him a time or two, but didn't really know him. But his wife Martha was there. She was one of the greatest prayer warriors, and she would always organize prayer for the week of VBS. They always ask our names, and they pray for us. Sometimes we don't know exactly who's gone, so people who go at the last minute don't get prayed for as much. But they pray for us by name, coming down there. Martha passed away this past year, so she wasn't there this year. But she wrote 2 books that talk a lot about the history. And so if you're interested in the work that down there in Bowlings Creek, these books talk a lot about it. It starts in 52 when Wesley first went down there. It's just a lot of good stories, a lot of neat ways that God worked, and a lot of painful things that happened as well over the years in Bowlings Creek. So I bought a number of these copies of these books, and so if you enjoy reading and want to learn more about what we do down there, grab them. Let's pray. Father God, thank you so much for your love and your faithfulness. Father, thank you for allowing us to be a part of your work, your kingdom. Father, thank you for this body of believers. Thank you that they sent us down there and they prayed for us. And Father, I pray for the people in Kentucky. Father, I pray for little Leo. He's so little. I pray for him. I pray for Clarence and John A. and their feud, and I pray that you'd bring healing, that they'd be able to forgive each other. Father, for Tim and for Martha, for Dallas, for Janice, for all the others that used to go to church, that went to Bible school years ago, that know you but aren't going to church, Father, I pray that they would be able to come back to church. Father, draw them to yourself. Father, I thank you for your love and your faithfulness. Thank you for this day. Thank you that we could meet this morning to worship you and to learn about some of the work that happened this past week. Father, it's all because of you. It's all because of Jesus. We pray all this in your name. Amen. May God bless you. Depart in peace.